Welcome back, YouTube fans. This is a double review. I'm reviewing the Robot Damashii number 126 Strike Dagger and the msia version of the same figure, the Strike Dagger. Now, the Strike Dagger is an odd duck in general because the suit is not a great one in the series. The figure itself is a really good figure. This is the original Mobile Suits in Action, or msia figure. As you can see, it's got fairly good posability, but it's made of the softer plastic, which is a minor drawback. It also has these attachment ports on it. Those were for things that I don't really think came to fruition. It's the same kind of plug this shield uses here to plug into the arm of the mobile suit, as you can see. So there's a plug here on its leg and hip for its shield, effectively. So I'm not really sure why. One other problem I have with this suit was, especially with many other Robot Damashii figures, the hinges for the legs would get looser the more you used them. They were soft plastic, so I'm assuming it's just that they would bend over time, but they weren't as good. The other thing, as you may notice, is it's about half as tall as the Robot Damashii figure. The Robot Damashii figures are a lot bigger. Plus, that makes them a lot more inclined to be compatible with 1/144th scale models. But, effectively, these two suits come with the same thing, so they're an apt comparison of the two series. These are the parts for the smaller mobile suit. It comes with one beam saber, 4 hands, and its shield gun and a detachable beam saber. One problem I have with these ones is also that if you look closely, you will see that there is yellow on the beam saber nozzle. This is because the grade of plastic they used for the beam saber, the pigment would eventually bleed into the weapons. And unfortunately for many mobile suits, the beam sabers were together in the package. So a lot of older ones, they're gonna have that bleed into it. I'm not sure if there's a way to remove it. But that is a criticism I have, is that the quality of the pigment was not as good. You can also see that this one is a lot lighter shade of blue than this one, which is more of a greenish hue, which I quite like. This mobile suit, however, comes with a couple extras. The Robot Damashii comes with, of course, a beam saber. But it comes with 4 hands as well, but also an attachment base to attach it to most standard stands that this series uses. In fact, the ones from the Strike, Gundam, and other ones use the exact same clip-on. But the ironic part is, this one is a cut-down suit, as is its figure on its accessories. It's a cut-down suit, because that's what this suit was in the series. The Strike Dagger was the first mobile suit the Federation Forces made, but it was a cut-down, cheap budget model. It was not what had originally been designed. That was a mobile suit called the Slaughter Dagger, which included many of the elements of the Strike Gundam, which is what the combat data they had was. But unlike the Strike Gundam, this one lacks a lot of its features. It has no port on the back for a striker pack, though it does share similar shoulder pads. It also lacks the armored Schneider holsters on its side, which was the Strike's default weapons. The Strike's other weapons were all part of striker packs, like the Ale pack contained its beam sabers and beam rifle. Also, I will notice that this having a moving pivot is a really nice touch. You can get a lot of poses if you're, pulling the saber free. Plus, I like these bulge joints for the shoulders they've added. They have this little extra joint inside that lets you move it forward, plus you can detach the arm for battle damage effects. But it has the standard movement, but with also a pin there. One other thing I like is they took the handle off this one and completely removed it, so that you don't have to deal with the annoying hand grip getting in the way, which I think is a really good addition. But in the series, these things were made mainly to be cannon fodder. The advantage the Federation forces had over the plant's Zaft forces was, quite honestly, they had more people. And once they built these mobile suits, they simply mass-produced them en masse, with no thought to pilot safety or cost-effectiveness and pilot survivability. It was all about how cheap can we make these things and how many of them can we throw at the enemy, which really exemplifies what this mobile suit is. In fact, in the first time you see them on screen, they get wiped out, not because the enemy has a superior mobile suit, but because they had really crappy EMP shielding. They had cut that cost on them, so the enemy forces, who had mass-produced mobile suits for years and used quality parts, dropped an EMP device on them and knocked every last one of them out, rendering them totally useless and destroying the objective they had been planning to blow up, a mass driver. A device meant to launch things into orbit, this way avoiding the issues of fuel consumption. It's an actual scientific concept that doesn't get as much talk. We talk about sending shuttles into orbit, but building a device that launches the shuttle, cutting out the excessive amount of fuel that has to be carried, plus giving it an extra boost to escape Earth's gravity well and get into orbit, it's an actual concept that I don't think people have explored enough. Instead of doing these two-stage launch systems that they've been trying, they might want to look into building something along those lines. But that's neither here nor there. I am not an expert in astrophysics or jet propulsion, so I cannot say. I just think it's a concept they might want to consider. Another thing I should note is this one does not have any of those little attachment points, which, as I said, they don't really serve any purpose. The Strike Dagger was only seen at the end of Gundam Seed, and after that it was replaced with lots of other mobile suits, even in the extended canon, because, as I said, this one's a cut-down, cheap model that isn't really meant to be used as a serious military weapon, but more for human wave tactics. You build lots of these, put people in it, and throw them at the enemy. Another thing that I found interesting about this mobile suit is it seems to be the concept that the Federation really seems to believe in. Win no matter the cost. One of the things that's mentioned by the one good Federation general you meet in the series early on, who also he gets killed, ironically, is that the government has been wasting their time on concessions and seeing the people who keep dying as acceptable losses. He obviously doesn't, and which is why the Strike and the other mobile suits had phase shift armor, I think, as a means to protect the pilots. He probably wanted to produce that on all of them so that their people would come home at the end of the day. But as the Federation becomes the second big bad in the series, towards the end of the first two-thirds of it, you really start to see that the Federation is no better than the Zaft forces in that they are both run by assholes. The people in charge of Zaft want to win and are basically genocidal, while the people who run the Federation forces are also genocidal, neither side having any qualms about using extremely powerful, massively destructive weapons that kill large population centers worth of people. Unfortunately, also, this suit doesn't ever get seen much outside of the main series. I never saw it in Gundam Seed Destiny, which was the sequel series. It had been all but replaced with long daggers and other mobile suits like the Gundam. So, you have to feel kind of sorry for this suit. It's meant to be a cheap suit, and it's meant to get slaughtered en masse. Very much like the original GMs, except this one doesn't have a red shirt built directly into it. But yeah, anyone flying one of these in the original series, they were pretty much dead meat. They would get slaughtered in total. They even get used against our heroes when they invade Orb. And when you see them, I really get the sense that they're getting their butts kicked by the M1 Astray, because it takes several of these things to take on an M1 in several scenes, and the M1s, even inexperienced pilots like the M1 Astray girls, who are a trio of 3 pilots who are introduced in the series, are easily able to take out several of these. So I really feel that the problem with these ones is that they're not going to work as a mobile suit unless you have overwhelming force. But anyway, that's my review of this figure. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. And I will see you guys next time. Ciao!